how long we've been singing, but that was fun.
This is only week 2. You don't
All right. Wasn't that great? We're singing again. I love it. Look at our small but mighty crowd that made it here on our Leap Forward Day.
You know who has their own
exactly.
For everyone that shows up at 10:30.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, my name is Cynthia, and I am your practitioner today. I'm so glad you guys are here. And happy spring in a week. It's almost springtime. Can you believe it? Can you tell? I could tell by the weight of that snow. Oh, man. I did some serious lifting this last couple of days, as I'm sure all of us have. All right, well, welcome. Let's go ahead and settle in. And I have 2 things for you today. But let's go ahead and invoke. So I invite you to feel the chair beneath you. Feel your feet on the ground, a beautiful support of our incredible planet. We're gathered here in this sacred space, and I recognize the powerful presence of the divine, the creative force and the source of all that is, working through you as you, working through me as me. I know that God is right here in perfect form as this beautiful day and this inspiring message and music, individualizing as each and every one of us. It's from this grace-filled place that I give thanks for Reverend John and our practitioner team, our talented musicians, our past and present leadership council and future, our children's program teachers, our live stream technicians, and Donna in the kitchen, and our greeters, and all those who keep our center full of vitality. I'm grateful for this opportunity as I bless this time together, and with deep gratitude together we say, and so it is. All right, well, I had 2 things that have roughly the same theme, and I was going to suss out how you all were seeming to me, whether you're esoteric or you're regular. And I decided that you're both. So I'm going to start with Choose Love by Daily Ohm. And it turns out I read this to y'all in 2.5 years ago, in 2020. So I'm going to read it again because it means something totally different to me today, and probably you too. So choose love. Make all decisions from pure love, and the world will change. Love is often presented as the opposite of fear, but true love is not opposite anything. True love is far more powerful than any negative emotion, as it is the environment in which all things arise. Negative emotions are like sharks swimming in the ocean of love. Not that we don't like sharks, so you can take that for what you want. It's just like it's in love, right? All things beautiful and fearless, ugly and kind, powerful and small come into existence, do their thing, and disappear within the context of this great ocean. At the same time, they are made of that very love in which they swim, and they can never be separated. We are made of this love and live our whole lives at one with it, whether we know it or not. It is only the illusion that we separate from this great love that causes us to believe that choosing anything other than love makes sense or is even possible. In the relative dualistic world of positive and negative, darkness and light, male and female, we make choices and we learn from them. This is exactly what we are meant to be doing here on earth. Underlying these relative choices, though, is the choice to be conscious of what we are, which is love, or to be unconscious of it. When we choose to be conscious of it, we choose love. We will still exist in the relative world of opposites and choices and cause and effect, and we will need to make our way here, but doing so with an awareness that we are all made of this love will enable us to be more playful, more joyful, more loving, and wise as we make our way. Ultimately, the choices we make will shed light on the love that makes us all one, enabling those who have forgotten to return to the source. This world makes it easy to forget this great love, which is part of why we are here. We are here to remember, and when we forget, to remember again, to choose love. I've been immersed in this kind of thing through all my reading in the last couple of weeks, so I pulled that one out again. This last one's a Rumi poem, so settle in, choose love, and listen to this one. That Lives in Us is what it's called. If you put your hands on this oar with me, they will never harm another. They will come to find they hold everything you want. If you put your hands on this oar with me, they will no longer lift anything to your mouth that might wound your precious land, that sacred earth that is your body. If you put your soul against this oar with me, the power that made the universe will enter your sinew, from a source not outside your limbs, but from a holy realm that lives in us. Exuberant is existence. Time is a husk. When the moment cracks open, ecstasy leaps out and devours space. Love goes mad with the blessings like my words give. Why lay yourself on the torturer's rack of the past and the future? The mind that tries to shape tomorrow beyond its capacities will find no rest. Be kind to yourself, dear, to our innocent follies. Forget any sounds or touches you knew that did not help you dance. You will come to see that all evolves us. That's Rumi. Yeah, fun, huh? Thank you. Oh, whoops. Oh, I do want to do the affirmation. You knew I was going to forget, huh? Okay. Thank you. I don't even know where it is. Oh, my goodness. Not the offering. Where is it? Oh, it's a short one. It almost skipped me. Okay, it's in red, right here in your order of service, the little insert. Okay, let's do our affirmation together. I release and let go preparation for a greater transformation. Oh, I release and let go in preparation for a greater transformation. Do y'all want to do that again? Let's do that again. I release and let go in preparation for a greater transformation. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Good morning, everyone. Thought of the day. Confession. Cynthia, those readings were beautiful. My Friday was not like that. In every communication, whether written or spoken, I used all caps and bold and finished them all by saying, I don't know, because it's never going to stop snowing. And I was just grumpy as I, out there in the morning just moving snow around like crazy, which was powdery and beautiful at that time of the day. I must confess that. It was still light and fluffy. It's before it sort of became water-soaked. And then because I had to be at some meetings up north early, and about midday I'd come back down. I was stopping by the grocery store, and there was this girl, maybe 6, and her mom. And I think her mom had the same outlook that I had. And I think the little girl did too. She was just expressing it in a different way. She was moaning and screaming, I don't want to. And her mother was over it. And still, there were lots of that's enough now. And then more of that, and I don't. And I thought to myself, that's what I want to do right now. You are expressing my feelings. And then I got home, and the berm was still there, and I had to get the snow and clear the berm. And I thought to myself, we can take people to the moon. We can do all kinds of things. Can't we create a machine that actually doesn't push snow to the side of the road, but sucks it all up like a vacuum cleaner? We could have clear roads and no berms. Isn't that possible? And then the day went on, and by the end of the day, for the first time in my life, I count myself fortunate. I had a credit card that was breached. And the credit card company was really quick and called and stopped all the insanity. But I went to go back and be the girl, and now my credit card is. And I crawled into bed, and I had a long chat with myself. And I said, do you have a bed to sleep in tonight? Yes. Is it warm where you are? Yes. Do you have people that you love in your life? Yes. Do you feel loved? Yes. Did you eat wonderful food today? Yes. Is the snow beautiful? Yes. Because the answer is yes, the snow is beautiful and it's doing so many great things and it's creating challenges and there are avalanches and floods and all of that stuff too. And somehow I have to believe that if we were to get out the big chart and graph the pluses and the negatives, the pluses would still win. And if it's feeling vulnerable, I truly believe that we can become part of shifting the plus column back into the lead. And it's okay if every now and then we want to walk to the grocery store and whine.
Thank you, R.L. Thank
How's
you,
the
Max.
snow at your house, John?
Thank God we're on the second floor.
You can still see out your windows.
I can still see out my windows. Thank you for making it early this morning. Thank you at home for trying to get it here in person. I know there's a lot more people at home today. I think they tried to get out the door. And let's not be too judgy of the people that arrive at 10:30. We can feel very superior. There's always a couple that kind of come in at 10:30. But interesting thing about this whole time change, and some of us it just doesn't seem to work out. I know some people go days, if not weeks, until their body clocks are put back together again. But I have to say that Will the Wonder Dog did really well with it this morning. So he has trained us to feed him 3 times a day. And on the hour, he comes over and gives us that, what I call that concerned citizen look, meaning, so this morning at the new 6 a.m., he trotted himself out and was like, I heard about the time change. It's time for kibble. So how does that work? How does that work? I thought we're going to, have an easier time this morning, but no, I guess there's a thing to group consciousness. Anyways, I just thought I should and we did change that clock. See how many weeks it takes me to change that. And so we'll have a lottery, like, a pool of how long will it take Reverend John to change the clock. Anyway, so this month we are talking about looking within, doing some inventory, and making transformations. Sometimes maybe very small ones, sometimes very large ones. This whole idea of the weeks leading up towards Easter, of kind of the ultimate of transformation. But I think the only way that we can, in a sense, transform is to know where we are now. And one way to look at that, as I've thought a lot this week, and a little bit in my blog, is the fear and anxiety we put around public speaking. Now, if I said, and I could really get you going here, let's say I have a lottery thing, and I'm going to pull a name out of the hat, and the person whose name I pull out gets to come up and speak for 10 minutes. Would you suddenly like get that sixth sense in the back of your throat of wondering how gracefully could I make a run for it? Let's just be honest, and even if those of you that have had experience with it, the fact that you've not, quote unquote, aren't prepared, there would be a little of an anxiety, and you would be praying for someone else to be picked. You'd get that sick thing when you pass someone who got pulled over for a ticket, and you're like, oh, thank God it's not me. And that means I have a little bit of free time before the officer can get back into the car, so I can really shoot down the highway like going crazy because he is occupied right now. So there would be a little bit of that. So what is it about public speaking that we might be so fearful with? And even if you've done a lot of it, there's always that little, okay, I have to prepare myself. So what do you think it is? I think partially it's because we think we don't have anything to say. Or if we put in a great deal of time and thought into saying something, that it won't be received well. That people go, huh? Well, what was that about? And take public speaking, not just like standing up here, public speaking one-on-one. You've got something you need to tell your family or some friends in an official announcement sort of thing. And again, there's that nervousness, isn't there? Of how will what I have to say be received? the experience where maybe one-on-one or you talk to a family or something and you said, this is how I feel and this is what I'm thinking right now, and someone may have told you that you didn't have any right to think or feel that. I've had that experience, haven't you? Like, why would you feel like that? And of course that just makes it, you feel even more like, well, why did it even bother? Why did I make myself vulnerable if it's not going to be received well? And I told this before. I remember one of the first persons I told that I wanted to go into the ministry and study for this. The first person told me that maybe I needed years of therapy before seeking out this job. Well, I just felt like kind of thing. So we've all kind of had that. And of course, it's one thing to do it in a very vulnerable way with one or two people in your family, but then it's quite another to be over here and be vulnerable and say what you feel and what you stand for and have it not be received well. So I think that's partially what it is. But I think still it's very important to look at life as a public speaking engagement and to get clear whether it's received well or not. What is it you believe? What is it that you stand for? That as we often talk about setting intentions and being prayerful to go to the next level of our living, is that you can't really do that unless if you're really clear on where your starting point is. That we may have this kind of idea of what we think a life should be, but if we're real squishy in our identity now, how do you go someplace else? You just can't. So as difficult it might be or intimidating it might be, is to get clear where you are now. So has most people here taken a public speaking course at some time? Who here took public speaking from Reverend Marty? That was one. Ann, are you one of the? Ann? So, of course, for those who don't know, Reverend Marty was kind of our unofficial assistant minister for a long time. He was my partner for a long time, a great, great teacher and facilitator. And one of the classes that were the most popular that he gave was his public speaking class, and he must have given that 15 times. And people would take it over and over again. There was just something about the dynamic of it. But I think he kind of set a structure that's pretty common for many public speaking classes. Basically, you will start off, everyone has to take turns. So that's the whole thing. When it's your turn, it's like, today's the day I have to stand up here. And I think, didn't he even have you up here sometimes?
We have from the very beginning you had to get up.
But I mean like here, not even in the social hall. It was like,
No, it's right.
yeah, it's right here. So it was like, hey, welcome in for your first time here in first class. Could you stand up here and talk? That's really kind of what it was. And I think usually there'd be like, the first one would be like a 3-minute. You might go to a 5-minute. And I don't know if you graduated with like a 7 or 8-minute or something like that. And if you've taken a public speaking course, that's kind of how it is. But he would, as I think most instructors that teach public speaking, would be very clear of the time limit. That if it was a 3-minute talk, when the gong went off, you were done. And people would pull me aside, and Marty would say, they would say, oh, well, but I have one more thing left to say. So I say it next time. You're done. Or I think you did one of his things was to do a demonstration, meaning like to show how to do something. It could be anything like how to make the best chocolate chip cookies kind of thing. And so, and I can't remember the one that this person really just kind of gave him a big hassle about it. Just, but no, I've got 2 more steps for this. The best chocolate chip cookies ever, or whatever it was. Is, sorry, you'll have to bake them later on because you're done. But what that does for you is to discipline you into being really clear on what it is you believe and what it is you would like to relate and to tell other people. And there's a good reason for that. First, in public speaking, of course, it's really easy to be in those seats and to be the judge of the person that's over here or trying to show you how to make the best chocolate chip cookies. We've all had the experience where we're just, in a sense, dying for the person up there because they're lost. It's like the 40 days in the desert. They just can't seem to get out of there. They can never seem to get the cookies to the oven. And there's always that you just are feeling for them because they just can't seem to get there. And that relates to our own life. It's like we can, at times, it's like I have something to say, I have something to relate, and I have something I need to be very vulnerable about, but I just, like I said, my analogy for that is like those speakers, they just can't land the plane. You know what I mean? They're forever like circling LAX or wherever they are. They just can't seem to land the plane. And sometimes in our own life, we have something significant that we would like to voice, and we can't find our voice. We can't seem to land the plane. We can't trust in our own authenticity, which is really what it is. Because I think the underlying thing is, again, if I'm vulnerable and if I am authentic in this moment in saying what I would like to say, there's always that possibility that someone is not going to agree with it, like it, or appreciate it. And so we try to hedge our bets a little bit. You know, well, what would be semi-authentic, but I could, you know, kind of bring something else into it. And so that's the trick. So I've taken a couple different public speaking courses, one of which was in the School of Ministry. And I think, did they have it in 2 parts? I can't remember. Similar sort of thing, where you start, I think the first night was just 60 seconds. Again, the gong will go off, come up here, who I am, where I'm from, what center am I for, blah, 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 and to be able to get that time frame of you have 60 seconds, and then I think there was a 3-minute and a 5-minute, a 10-minute, I can't even remember. But of course, it was specialized in trying to give future ministers the tools to do what I'm doing here. In a sense, try to give you a little bit of structure of how it might go. Not to say that was the end all, but to not just come up here and just, like I said, just kind of get lost in it. But our instructor, he had, you know, some parameters to go by. And I'm going to go over them today, because it's about life. So we realized in class here, these are all, you know, ministers and or future ministers sort of thing, and many of us would be doing kind of what I'm doing right now. And he said that one of the biggest pitfalls is to try to either consciously or unconsciously emulate the minister who is the minister of the center you go to. Because obviously you go there for a reason. You go to there because you're inspired by them. And of course in Southern California you had a big list where you could go. So if you go to one, it's not like here, like I'm the only game in town. Like, you know, like it or not, this is what you get. But in Southern California you could like shop around a little bit. And so you would go to the place that you found the most inspiring. And as our instructor said, it is a trap to try to be the mini-me of that person. And it was very apparent that some people didn't quite take that to heart. So, and again, I think 10 or 12 people in our class, and about 3 of the people were members of Agape, which Michael Beckwith, some of you know, I think he's pretty well known. He's all over YouTube. He's very inspirational. I think he spoke here at the Wellness Festival one year. He and a group of people founded that, and they've got like 20,000 members, something along that line, of course, mostly online. And he has a very unique way of delivery. It is amazing. It is inspirational. And God help you if you try to copy it. It just doesn't work. It really doesn't. In fact, it was, again, what works for one doesn't work for another. And he gave a class that I took there. I can't remember the name of the class. It was just 10 of us. And of course, he's such a wonderful person in that small venue as opposed to speaking to the multitudes. And he said, you know, actually, in his growth as a person and minister, that he has to trust that without preparation, his talk will be there. And yeah, it's kind of scary, isn't it? It's like, could you imagine taking a speaking date? Says, I'm just going to, you know, you'll be that, again, you're going to be the person trying to land the plane. It'll never happen. But he said, even as he's driving to Sunday morning, he's like, okay, Spirit, what were you talking about today? And it works for him. It always shows up. It always has this interesting structure, even though he doesn't concentrate on structure. And again, if you are one of our students saying you're just going to do Michael, it's just not going to work. Just not going to work. So, and of course what was interesting with that is for me taking that to heart is that the instructor of the class was the minister of the center I went. So God help me if I was trying to copy him in front of him. So that was the first thing, was authenticity. So we can work with the structure, in a sense. That, haven't you heard someone speak, whether in a small group or a large group, and they were so authentic, but maybe kind of messy on the structure, but it was okay. It's like there was something so true about it, it didn't matter if they seemed to be over here and over there. They landed the plane in a unique and wonderful way. So the first thing was that in a speech class, we can be so concerned about structure, but you have to have a sense of authenticity. People will forgive you for a little messiness if you're authentic. Audiences will not be forgiving if you have a good structure, but maybe not so much to say, that you don't trust yourself in what you're going to say, that you're kind of hedging your bets a little bit. So that was the first and foremost. So he would, of course, nothing like speech class to then get now I'm going to judge you and tell you how you did. I don't know if Margie did that. Okay. And it was always, okay, yeah, we can work at the structure. Yeah, you kind of, came to a crash landing at the end, but you're authentic. So it was good. We're kind of going on a good direction here. But as we were working on authenticity, you do need to work on your delivery. From what spot are you coming from within yourself? And our teacher had this interesting way of looking at this. And again, this relates to how we relate to the world. He said that imagine this big scale. On one side is, let's say, very left brain, and one side very right brain. One side very structured, and one side very intuitive and freeform. Most of us we combine those two, don't we? But in extreme cases, some people may seem to be in this camp, or they may be in this camp. And he was talking about, and again, to be authentic, but at the same time realize, where are you, and are you truly trusting yourself? Where's your safety zone? So he said some people's safety zone is way over here. And so if you're a public speaker there, you have copious amounts of notes. You have lots of bullet points. And you know that each and every bullet point is extremely important. And you have to tell each and every bullet point in the correct order. And you're like this because it is so important that you get to each and everything. I remember a few years ago, a friend of mine that was sending out a weekly, quote-unquote, spiritual kind of email was like 10 pages of single-space type. He said, did you read my thing? I said, well, no. So there's so many great things in there. And I had to say, I can't tackle it. It's just like it's too much. I printed it out, and it was like 10 pages. So it's like, this is the one extreme. And sometimes, as in our lives, we just can hold on to the structure a little bit too much. It's like, I need the list. And not to say you shouldn't have lists. And as he was telling us in public speaking, we can think that this is our lifeline, our lifesaver here. But let's go to the other side. Talk about never landing the plane. And we had a couple of those in our speech class. You just go, hello, where are you? What are you trying to make? What are you trying to do? And I read this thing a few weeks ago, this woman talking about how scattered her day was and how starting to do the dishes ended up sitting on the bathroom floor looking at photo albums. It's like, how one thing led to another, and here. Haven't you done that at home? It's like, oh, I start cleaning here, then I go over here, and over here, then I do end up with the photo albums like 2 hours later, and you think, how did I get here? So he's saying, you don't want to be this person either. Because you go, I know we're supposed to be quote-unquote spiritual and all that, but I'm not sure which dimension they're going for today. Again, how does this relate to our life? Sometimes we are holding on to the structure so much that we can't allow the freedom of intuition to be in here. And sometimes we are just so out there that we really need a couple bullet points. And so he would say, this is what you need to do if one of these are you. So if you're here, you need to have a piece of paper. You need a couple, 2 or 3 points here to kind of bring you down. And if you're over here, you need to trust that you can push this over here a little bit. bit and maybe glance at it, but trust that Spirit can speak through you and as you in your life. And he says in public speaking as in our life, we should seek to come to a great combination of the two. And within that, we do find our authenticity. Because letting that go a little bit is trust. Letting this come in a bit is trust as well. So, I'm not going to ask for people to raise their hand or anything, but is there one side that you have a tendency to hang out on? And when you're really hanging out on that one side or the other, as you're talking to friends and family, do they look at you like, huh? Bring it to the center a little bit. Last thing that he would tell us about, that we'll talk about today, is that in official public speaking, you're supposed to have some sort of call to action. You ever heard of that? Give them something to take home to do. Go home and do a spiritual practice. Make the best cookies you ever made. Whatever it is, it's like inspire someone to do something. It can be anything. For me, actually, I think I always have a similar one. Actually, it is on the line of authenticity. My job is not to tell anybody to do anything, basically. My job is to have people feel safe enough that they can express themselves and be authentic in saying what they want to do, what they want to say, and the path that they want to follow. I don't know what that path should be. My other call to action is that regardless of the challenges that you have, you can still move forward anyway. And I know that so many people I've talked to have so many more challenges than I've ever had in my life. And it may sound a little bit like, oh yeah, you can do it when they've got this many challenges and I have this many challenges. But that's what I think this philosophy is. Even with more seemingly challenges, there is a way through. Again, you may not always get what you think you should get, but you'll get what is actually perfect for you if you can trust that. So as we have the lead up into Easter, spend some time with that. What is your authentic place right now? How would moving forward be more authentic? And I just want to close with something. I found this yesterday. I saw a little video, and actually I played it like 10 times so I could type out what this person had to say. And again, talk about authenticity. This is by Lexi Spencer, who is a transgender female. And she says, people often ask me, why do you continue to dress as you do, to live as incandescently as you do, knowing that you'd experience violence? To which I respond, why do you continue to lie to yourself, knowing that you'll never experience, knowing that you will experience depression? Why do you continue to sacrifice your authenticity, knowing that you're never going to experience happiness? Why do you stay in relationships that aren't serving you? It's because you are afraid, and your fear is holding you back from actually being alive. It says, that's why trans people are targeted. It's not because we lack, it's because we have the audacity to love the parts of ourselves that others hate in themselves. As I'm looking at the picture of this person, and yeah, her mere appearance can incite violence. I've always just kind of flown underneath the radar, you know? And I think that's incredibly brave to be that authentic anyway. And I don't know if I have that level of courage, quite frankly. So let's just take this within and give thanks for this day. Let's give thanks for the melting snow. Let's give thanks for spring. That is an idea that is coming to fruition right here, right now. Let's try to control the universe, even though we say we can't. And just give thanks for the way that it is. And in this time of looking within and doing inner inventory, let us be authentic. Let us release that which has nothing to do with who we are, and embrace that which we might have even been a little bit afraid to embrace. Let us embody that as it embodies us. And so we give thanks for this. We give such gratitude knowing that we are at choice. And in this gratitude, we simply release it. We let it go, release it into the heart and mind and spirit